Joining me now is Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas. Senator Cotton, welcome back.
Morning, Chuck.
The president struck a deal on the debt ceiling with Democrats. Republicans weren't in the room. He apparently seems to strike at least the outlines of what a deal on DACA will look like, which apparently is no funding for the wall without Republican leaders in the room. Are you concerned about this?
No, I think the president has said publicly that there's not a deal, that he wants to see a deal. In fact, he called me a couple nights ago to say there's no deal. He wants to make sure that we protect the interest of American workers, in particular by ending unlimited chain migration, which is why we have so many unskilled workers coming into the country. Asked me to sit down with Senator Schumer and some of the other Democrats. They want to focus on a package of benefits for illegal immigrants. We want to put American interests, or American workers' interests first, and we'll do that. But there's no deal right now, and I'm happy to work with the president and Democrats in Congress to try to reach a deal that helps American workers.
Do you think the president gave up his leverage by allowing the border wall to be not part of this deal? Democrats made that as part of the insistence. Do you think that was wise by him or not?
I don't think he gave up that leverage. The wall is really a funding matter. We'll have a government funding debate later this year. If you want to give legal status to these 700,000 or so people who are in their 20s and 30s now that came here illegally as children, that's a permanent and irreversible change to American law. You need to make a permanent and irreversible change in return to protect American workers. And the way to do that is my legislation, the RAISE Act, which will stop unlimited chain migration and reorient our green card system to high-skilled workers. That's the real core of the deal.
You say if you do codify DACA into law, that it's a permanent change in the system. Do you believe there is a way to just do it for these approximately 800,000 to 1 million folks, or do you think it will be model legislation to deal with this problem going forward?
No, I think it has to be very tailored and incremental. Congress has shown over the last 11 years 3 times that it can't pass a major comprehensive immigration bill.
And you acknowledge that? That major comprehensive immigration really probably can't be done right now.
Well, I helped stop it in 2013 because the deal was so bad then. The problem was it gave amnesty first and enforcement later, which meant amnesty now and enforcement neither. It also dramatically increased the number of unskilled and low-skilled workers coming to this country at a time when blue-collar Americans are still seeing their wages undercut. So what you need is a targeted and incremental deal that solves this problem of the 700,000, but also mitigates the negative side effects of it.
Can you give me a definition of amnesty? Because it's in the eye of the beholder. It feels, particularly when it comes to this debate on the right side of the spectrum here. What is your definition of amnesty? Well,
amnesty is giving legal status to people who came here illegally. But the core debate is not over what is...
You believe this is amnesty for DACA?
Well, if you pass the so-called DREAM Act, it'll be the single biggest amnesty in the history of the United States, even bigger than the 1986 amnesty, which Ronald Reagan said was his biggest mistake in office. But the core debate here has never been about legal status for these 700,000 or so people. It's been, how are we going to control the negative side effects of that, which is undercutting American jobs and wages. My legislation, the RAISE Act, would do that, and deterring more illegal immigration. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a parent in El Salvador right now. If you had the promise of American citizenship for your child, trying to get away from the poverty and the violence in that country, and we pass a straight amnesty with no effort to increase enforcement or to change our green cards, wouldn't you take a very dangerous risk to get your child to the United States for the next amnesty? That's why we can't simply codify DACA. We also have to deal with the negative side effects of codifying DACA.
I want to talk about the atmosphere overall among some conservatives. I had a very animated, never Trump conservative radio talk show host on my Meet the Press Daily earlier this week. Take a listen to Steve Deace.
When I was never Trump, Chuck, they told me if I didn't vote for Trump, we'd have amnesty, record debt, and Obamacare. And guess what? They were right.
It's obviously filled with a bit of hyperbole, but there is a growing chorus on the right, a little bit of I told you so when it comes to Donald Trump. Do you still trust him to be a conservative president?
Yeah, I always want to support the president when he's right. When he's wrong, I'll try to change his mind. And if he doesn't, I'll have to oppose him and support what's best for Arkansas. But I think that's the most constructive approach to trying to work with President Trump, or for that matter, any president.
Is his frustration with Mitch McConnell warranted in your mind?
I think his frustration is with Congress as a whole. The president doesn't have so much of a leadership problem sometimes. He has more of a membership problem. But that's not uncommon. You've seen that in the Democratic Party as well. Just this week, Bernie Sanders introduced his single-payer health care bill. I'm glad he finally recognizes that we need to repeal Obamacare, which his bill would do. And that's divided the Democratic Party. That's just the nature of Congress, but it's also the nature of our separated system of government.
You still have trust in Mitch McConnell. I mean, he's become a divisive figure in this Republican runoff in Alabama Senate, and there is this sense of the grassroots not so happy with McConnell. Insiders, what do you tell your constituents who complain about him?
I work very well with Senator McConnell. I think he does a difficult job very well, and Senator McConnell has encouraged me as well, just like President Trump, to sit down with our Democratic colleagues and try to reform our green card system in a way that serves the interest of American workers.
I want to touch on a few other topics. North Korea, it seems it's always sound and fury. It's always sanctions. Nothing seems to work. It does appear the administration's looking for a credible military option that at least somehow makes Kim Jong-un blink, but he's not blinking. What should the next step be? Should the next step be continuing to try to sanction North Korea, or should we be putting more pressure not just on China, but Russia too?
Well, I believe you'll see at the UN General Assembly this coming week, President Trump sitting down with many world leaders trying to build even stronger consensus on North Korea. There's still areas of their economy that we can sanction. We should take those steps. But as you say, Chuck, we should especially put more pressure on China. China can do more. China forced us to water down sanctions at the United Nations a couple weeks ago relating to oil imports into North Korea. China right now would rather have a nuclear North Korea than a denuclearized North Korea. Why? Because what did you just ask me? You asked me about North Korea. You didn't ask me about China's economic warfare on the United States, or militarizing new islands in the South China Sea, or their attitude towards Taiwan. We have to put pressure on China, though, to achieve our objective, which is a denuclearized North Korea that can no longer threaten America.
One other topic. I have not seen you weigh in on the proposed transgender ban. You are a recent veteran of these wars of the early 21st century. Where are you on this issue?
Waiting for Jim Mattis's report. You know, that's going to come out early next year. He has since said no one serving in the military will be removed from the military. He's going to make the assessment. I think it's worthwhile to make that assessment, just like Bob Gates went through more than a year of analysis in 2009, 2010, rather than making a precipitous change.
But do you have a problem serving with a transgender?
Well, I may have. I don't know. I didn't go around asking them that, just like I might have served with a gay or lesbian soldier as well. But what we have to focus on is the readiness of our forces and the readiness of individual units and individual soldiers to make sure that they are prepared to fight and win our country's wars.
Do you have any sense that they're not?
I think we have to wait for Jim Mattis's report. Just like Bob Gates went through a very thorough review and made this assessment. But I want to make sure that the focus in our military is preparing our soldiers to fight and win our wars.
All right. Senator Tom Cotton, I got to leave it there. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Chuck.
Appreciate it.